Right. So great. So you're originally from Manchester, right? I
That's
believe.
correct.
Yeah.
Eccles, Manchester. Yeah, just
Yeah.
outside.
But you currently live in Atlanta, where Stargirl's actually filmed. And I was wondering what brought you out to Georgia initially.
So I moved to America back in 1992.
Right.
We had visited America on family vacation, and
Mm,
cut long story short, my family was offered the opportunity of buying an auto parts business in
mm,
Tennessee. Um, some people that we visited, they were retirement age, and asked my dad if he would want to buy it, and they'd made plans, and we just started to come over then, and it was a few years from when he originally initially had started the process to being over here.
right.
But I lived in Tennessee my first 4 years in the country, and then right around 97 I had a job opportunity come up in Atlanta, cleaning carpets of all things. And
Right.
I did that knowing that Atlanta was the closest bigger city. You have to imagine coming from Eccles, Manchester, where
Right.
you get around where you want, watch the football, go to the concerts, and just walk. Coming to America and living in a very, very rural part of the country was difficult. It was a culture shock for me.
Right.
And so the opportunity of going somewhere where there was a little bit more culture and the arts, it just kind of made me act. I was out the door before I even knew or cared that I was going to be cleaning carpets. Uh,
Right.
Came here in '97, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah. And maybe something else that people would connect Manchester with, kind of like you already said, is Coronation Street, the world's longest running soap opera. And did you ever envision yourself being on that show at all if you had aspirations to act? Is it just so
Never,
connected to Manchester?
never at all. Not. I mean, not before I got into it. Not when I was over
Yeah,
there. I was 16 when I moved over here, Connor,
fair
and
enough. Yeah,
acting wasn't anything that was ever really on my game plan. Uh,
right.
when I came here, um, it was just kind of something that life is a journey, and there are different chapters within your journey. When I came to Atlanta, I lived there, just living my youth, playing football and just working and making a living, hanging out with my friends, and then
Right.
it wasn't until years later that I got into acting. And so, although Coronation Street was never on my mind when I was there in England, when I came over here, thought of the prospect of possibly going back, and seeing if I could work in England.
Yeah.
If I could get onto a show like that, I would definitely do it.
Mm.
You know,
And yeah, and kind of linking two of your worlds together. Your co-star from Stargirl, Neil Hopkins, played a Mancunian character on Lost, and I was wondering, have you ever had the opportunity to hear how he did with his accent on that show?
no, you know what? I haven't. I didn't have. I knew he was on Lost, Neil, but I did not
Yeah,
know. So does he play Charlie's brother in it?
he's Charlie's brother,
Ah,
and what he basically told me was, because I've spoken to him as well, that he kind of almost stopped trying or something like that. Like he has a very good understanding of accents, but he doesn't think his accent on Lost was very good. But I was wondering because obviously I'm not from Manchester, I can't really judge it. But I
yeah.
was wondering, but yeah,
I, when I saw it, I know Charlie was probably the more of the focal of the two of the brothers.
yeah, yeah. Because
But
I don't think Neil was a regular on it, so he wasn't in it as much. But
so, but usually, if there's a bad accent, it sticks out for me to even think about it, and it never did. And
right,
so for me, it was definitely possible. I think
yeah,
Neil, actors, me too. I mean, I'm my own worst critic at times, which is a blessing and a curse. I think it keeps you striving and keeps you working at the craft. but at the same time, it can also in the slower times, which there are some, as you are when you are acting, definitely is. They can become burdensome, if you tend to focus on them too much. So try not to, but it is just human nature, I think, in down slow time to reflect. But he
Right.
did great. He did great. I love that. You are everybody.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. And I don't know how familiar you are with it, but he actually told me that that's not his voice singing
ha,
that song. They they'd already recorded the song before they hired Neil, and so
man.
he was just basically the face. It's not his
Yeah.
voice.
Wow. That's awesome. You know what? I never knew that, Connor. Now you brought that
Mm.
up. I'm gonna circle back and chat with Neil about it because I would love to hear his experience. I love Dominic too. He's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, speaking of him, I know he's a very big United supporter.
Yeah, he is.
Which is the two Manchester teams do you fall into?
That's probably why I like him so much. Truth be told, mate. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm a
you're also United, are you?
United. Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
work at Trafford.
Ah,
I
that's
did.
something I wouldn't have known without talking to you. So,
I was probably about 15 at the time,
right,
and I had a friend of a there was a friend of a friend that was working there, and she said that she could get me in, and so I went in and worked I'd work every match day in the whatever it's called, the VIP lounge for
right.
visiting guests or special guests, and it was great. I got paid. I mean, for the amount of work that I did, I got paid like peanuts. But
Mm,
I'd nick a program on the way out. I'd have a cup of coffee at half time. I'd look after these guests. I spilt coffee on Paddy Creran's lap once.
oh,
Oh man,
yeah.
I was shrinking. He said, "Don't worry, lad. It's only
Mm,
piping hot coffee." Okay, sorry, Mr. Creran. Oh, but I got to watch the games. I was at some great games. I was there at Old Trafford when Eric Cantona came back and the tricolores were out everywhere.
right.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so when you got cast on Stargirl, obviously because Justin's kind of backstory got revealed gradually. So how much of that were you told from the outset versus being told episodically?
I was told the most after I'd booked it.
Right.
Speaking with Jeff came over and said hello and introduced himself and was grateful, he said, for me to be there, which was amazing. He's such a nice guy.
Mm,
So nice and welcoming and just a good, compassionate, present human, which is not something that you always encounter. You
right.
shouldn't expect that on a film set or a TV set anywhere, just because it's just sometimes there's so much going on and people haven't got time to do that or the mind's elsewhere. But whenever you come across that, it's so that genuine nature of somebody on set, it's just so refreshing.
Right.
So he came over and he said, you know, he started talking about the comics and who Justin was, and I can tell you now,
Yeah.
I've done a couple of these podcasts before, and I had to be a little tight-lipped with it, but he would talk about the Shining Knight, and he talked
Yeah.
about Seven Soldiers of Victory, and he talked about Justin's backstory as Sir Justin, and he talked about it all, and it was surreal listening to him tell me this story because I was there playing this character, Justin.
Right.
Now, when I booked the show, I knew that I was going to be recurring. I don't think I knew at that point I was going to be a a guest star. You know,
Mm,
guest star recurring is bigger than a co-star recurring,
right.
and so I I was just kind of sitting there talking to him and nodding my head and thinking, wow, this is amazing backstory to this character.
Mm,
And it's so cool. And I just had no idea that it was going to come out in the scope. I mean, most of it was going to come out within the scope of the season. I thought this was just a character that was going to be somewhat of somebody that's there that the OG comic book fan is going to recognize and know, but not
Yeah,
going to be a storyline.
yeah, because
My character.
observant people kind of suspected early on that there was more to Justin than just being a janitor.
Yeah,
Because I think that was quite smart of them. Because as sad as it is, a janitor's not normally someone people would pay a lot of attention to. So and they kind of put you in the background and then just kind of built you up as you went along. Because
yeah,
yeah,
very
so
gracefully done.
yeah, how satisfying was it for you then to see people quite quickly identify Justin as being Shining Knight based on the clues that were given?
It was. I mean, it was great. It was kind of satisfying, but I also knew that it wouldn't come out until episode 11. So I've
Mm,
been kind of tight-lipped about it until most recently. And then, I mean, the cat came out of the bag, I think, in episode, was it 7, where Shiv was there and she was about to kill Courtney,
yeah,
Stargirl, and I showed up with the sword, and you'd seen the sword and the chalice in the janitor's
mm,
room, and Victory was up there on the calendar.
yeah,
So there was definitely clues within that, and so, but even so, I kind of wanted to kind of hold on to that for those that just following the show,
mm,
you know, and so um, it's been great. I'm so excited. I've gotten so many messages today because it just came out, like you said, Connor.
yeah,
The episode Shining Knight just came out. So this is my episode. Jeff talked about this back last year when we were working on the pilot. He said you're going to have
mm,
some more. There'll be. We'll get to really know Justin, and you'll have much more work in episode 11. And so he was right about everything that he said, and there's more in store too. I'm so excited for moving forward. We got renewed, and
yeah. Oh,
um,
congratulations on that, by the way.
thank thank you so much. Yeah, it's great news. I'm so happy. Not only for the entire cast and crew, but for Jeff too. I think his sister lives on
Yeah,
through the show, and it's just it's got a special the special messages that are in there that
yeah,
reflect. I never knew her, but reflect her 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 soul and her spirit
yeah,
through Breck and Courtney.
yeah,
In so for this to live on, and he sacrificed, I think, a lot to get this done. I think he stepped away from his helm in DC,
mm,
and so he could concentrate on this as showrunner. And it's I'm just delighted for everybody that we are getting to the opportunity to come back. And the fact it's on CW. What is it on CW over there?
um,
That's the
I'm not.
television listing it's on here.
Yeah, I believe. I want to say.
It's
I'm
probably
I'm blanking right now, to be honest. Yeah,
it's it's on a CW show, which over here in the US it's got shows, that superhero shows, that have got a lot of staying power, and they tend to
right,
stick around, and the fact that the fans are really getting into the show, it tells me that this has got a lot of staying power too. And I'm so
right,
happy that Jeff is still on board, at the helm, because I know that there's so many more stories that he wants to tell. I read an article just last week about him. I think I was mentioning the article. He pops up sometimes on my Google search,
mm,
if I'm in an article, and he said something about I forget what website it was that posted it. It was probably a website similar to what you have, but
right,
he talks about this season, how this season they're just kind of building the universe, they're building the world, and there's so many different subplots, storylines, and clues and hints as to which way they can go, and so I know they've got some great writers on board. James Robinson,
Mm,
it's gonna be cool, man. I'm excited to see where it goes and what happens. I'm curious as to if they're gonna go back to school and keep working in the school. I don't see how they
right.
can. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
sports. Tigress is still at large there.
Mm,
And so yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's exciting.
yeah. Speaking of the school, you'd obviously have been around the younger um, characters a lot. You know, Courtney and the other JSA members. So how would you how's your experience of working with them in that environment?
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, mate. Anytime you get the opportunity to go on set is a great day. But when you get to go back and see these familiar faces, both crew and cast, it's just you everybody makes you feel welcome. Um, Working with them was a true treat. It was a little different for me because I would come in and I'd be just in the background. I'd say a line and then I'd be off. I'd be
Mm,
sometimes in and out within the space of six to 10 hours, which is a short day.
right.
Uh, and so I sometimes it'd be like ships in the night, but towards the end of the show, I did get to work a little heavier with them, and they're just real treats to be around. They're so their joy and their um, experience and their excitement for everything is contagious, and they're really really talented kids. Cameron is just one of the nicest people you're ever going to meet.
Right.
Um, he was just amazing, and he's all heart and all love, and he's just super nice. Courtney was there, Brett was there just about every day, I think,
Mm,
and yeah, she would be on set just about every single day, and I know she's tired, but she would still make time and just be smiling and just knowing that she's doing what she loves to do. She would come with a air of gratitude and thankfulness, which carries on through. As number one on the call sheet, there's a lot of responsibility there,
right. Of course.
and so she carried that with dignity and pride, and it was trickle down effect. I mean, it starts obviously with Jeff, who is a joy to
Mm,
be around, but when the number one on the call sheet is giving that and reflecting that too, it definitely trickles down to every single person.
right. And again, kind of speaking of people that you work with, when I interviewed Eric Goins, he mentioned that the two of you were friends prior to Stargirl, and
That's right.
I was wondering if you knew anyone else before, or was it just Eric?
Uh, do I know anybody else on the show? No, there's a young girl that plays a couple of times in the diner.
Right.
She served them a banana split.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Barbara, Pat, when they met, and she was
Yeah.
in the early episodes too. I think it was with Icicle and Cameron in the diner,
Right.
Jordan and Cameron. Um, yeah, I know Maria Sager. Yeah, I've,
Mm,
I've I've known her just from being around here in town and workshops and just working together. But I think that's about it that I knew going into the show. I knew a couple of the stunt performers. I'd worked with them before,
right. Um.
and the crew as well. When you work in town here, I think probably worldwide, if you work in the same town, then you're just going to run into people here and there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a small pool of people, right? You just It's a
Yeah,
lot of interconnecting, and
yeah.
yeah.
Community, the film community is, especially in Atlanta. I think we've got something here in relation to Los Angeles that
Yeah.
is more community driven. I think in LA there's a lot of cutthroat tendencies, and you know, um, people are just I don't know. It just comes across as a little bit less genuine as it does here.
Mm. And yeah, speaking of the Atlanta kind of like film community, you've given me a great segue into a question here. But I saw you were in an episode of The Walking Dead, and
Yeah.
how much do you think that show in the past 10 years has helped kind of like grow Atlanta as somewhere that people can go and could go and film?
That I think that probably was slash is one of the shows that put us on the map here.
Mm,
For what it did. I know that probably we got a tax incentive here, Connor, years ago.
yeah.
Forget when it came, but that was right at the beginning of that period, I believe.
Mm,
So with that came a mass influx of shows that were looking, and they get a good percentage of their money back um, once they wrap production, as long as they've got this little thing on the very back credit that's a Georgia peach. It says "Made in Georgia."
right.
You know, they get a pretty healthy percentage of their money back, and so um, Walking Dead was here at the birth of all that, and like any other. I mean, that's more of a graphic novel than a comic, is it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a better description of it. Yeah.
I think I've been schooled before by that. That's a graphic novel.
Mm,
Sorry, it's not a comic. It's a graphic novel.
mm,
Um, they they tell that story so well, and the fans of that show, they know all about it. It's got such a massive following.
right.
That had been on my vision board to have been on that for since the first season. You know,
Mm,
and so I was so grateful when I did finally book that. The role wasn't what I wanted, um, but I think death is such a big part of the show, that I was just grateful to be on it. I think it was
right.
episode. I mean, season 6, maybe. I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
They audition their actors, and if they like the read, obviously you get dummy sides that probably encapsulate the emotional arch of the whatever the character is going to be going through.
Mm,
Uh, the stakes are just about the same, but they usually use fake scenarios.
right.
Uh, so the audition process is you get the read, and if they like it, then they'll probably they book you for a role that might be similar than it. But if they like it in general, they put it in a special pile that they pick.
Right.
And so that first audition for the beginning of the season, typically you could hear something back from that 6 months after, and it will come by way of are you available? They'll
Mm,
book you for if there's a role. That way they don't have to, in the middle of a show season when there's so many people that they are dying off, they don't have to consistently go through the audition process for little buy roles kind of a thing.
sure. Yeah.
Uh, so so yeah, I got that role. I had to fight for my name in that too, which was it was something that I was I felt weird doing it. If you don't mind me telling you that story real quick, it was
Sure. Go on. Yeah.
so I got offered the role. It said, "Can you work Tuesday and Friday?" They said the role is called Prisoner Number 2,
Right.
but the producers will give this character a name on set. I was like, okay, okay, I like I say, I've been vision boarding, getting onto the show for years. So I
Right.
was like, I think this is the one. There were a couple of situations years prior where they'd asked me if I could work, and one time I was in England, one time I was on another show, and I just couldn't do it. But this time I said, let's go for it. Said to my agent, tell him yes. So I went for the fitting
Mm,
that night, and then I got the script after I got home that night, and I saw the role, and the role wasn't the role that I had thought it would be. Number one,
right.
he he wasn't going to be coming back. I thought, well, if he's not got a name, they'll introduce him as prisoner number 2, and then he could come back in a later episode, and then they'll give him a name. That was my thinking on it, possibly.
Right.
But didn't have a name, and after reading the script, he didn't come back, and more than that, he really wasn't worthy of a name. The role wasn't that worthy of a name. I could see why they didn't name him, to tell you the truth. But I'd already said yes. I'd already been for my fit in, and so I called my agent. I said, "Hey, listen, this role isn't quite what I was led to believe it was. I don't think that I don't know if they're going to give the character a name because I don't think he deserves one. But if they don't, I'm probably going to pass on it because I'm just going to pass. Would you be okay with that?" I ran it by my agent first, and they said yes. We feel the same way. This role was felt like it might have had more of a name or more gravitas to something. So I said it'll probably be okay. I'll show up to set in the morning, and the character will be there. We'll see the character name. And I showed up to set in the morning. He wasn't. He was still POW number 2, and I didn't sign the contract. The set PA said, "Go down to set. We'll get you mic'd up and we'll block the scene out. We'll do that." And so I went down to set, and we did the rehearsal, and they were micing me up, and the PA came back up to me again. And he said, "You need to sign this. If you don't sign this, you can't work today." And I said, "Well, I mean, I'm just not going to work then. If that's not been changed, I'm not going to work." And I said, "I'm sorry. I've spoke to my agent, and they know the way I feel, and they were supposed to be calling casting, but obviously they haven't. Whatever." And he said, "Okay, wait here." And he went away, and it wasn't Greg Nicotero, it was the other EP that's on the show. I forget his name.
Scott Gimple?
No, it wasn't Scott. He's the showrunner.
I think I know who you mean, but I'm not sure either. Yeah.
He's a big fella. He's super, super nice. He came over. He said, "Mark, what's the problem? What's the issue here?" I said, "Let me show you the email." I pulled my phone out, and I showed him the email that said, "This character is POW number 2. The producers will give the character a name on set." I said, "This is it." And he said, I'm fully aware that the character probably isn't worthy of a role. I am, but at the same time, I've been led to believe that he did. And, I told him, I said, "I've worked tirelessly to get onto this show. Every time I get an audition, I put my heart and soul into it. I've had probably 7, maybe 10 auditions for the show over the years. And I'm not trying to be a diva or anything, but it means a lot to me to be here. And I want you to know that I don't want to go out as POW number 2 on a show that means so much to me, and I put so much work into it." And he said, "Okay, I understand." He said, "Let me call the network and we'll see if we can get you a name." And so he went away, and he came back less than a minute or 2 later, and he said, "We're going to call you Evan." And I was made up. It wasn't about me being POW. If I'd been hired as POW number 2 and they didn't say that, I would have known what I was getting into when I had said yes, let's do it. Because if you've got a number, you're gonna die. Yeah, that's just the way that is. But the fact that they said that they was gonna give a name, I was led to believe it was something else, and so I had to fight for that name, and I was so glad that I did. I was kind of, it took me years to fight for myself. There's so many people that would have just showed up and just like, "Okay, it's okay. I'm working," which is the most important thing. And it is important, but at the same time, I'm working for my career, not just a job. And nobody else is going to work harder than me for my career, So it was a great scene. That was. I absolutely loved it. I worked with my friend Josh Michael, who played Jared on the show. It was his final episode. He'd been on it for a few seasons. And he was amazing. Just my friend Ty Lane Miller was in that scene with me, and I worked with Andy. I've known him for years. My friend Neil and him, their kids go to the same school, or they did while he was here working.
Right. Yeah.
I'd sit down, we'd have dinner together, and he'd be like, "Are you getting on the show again this year? Are you getting on the show this year, or what?" And I was like, "Man, I'm hoping so. I'm working," and he can he could recommend me to get in touch with casting, tell him Andy sent you, and I never really pushed that. I didn't want to, as nice as it is to have him batting for me. Andy is amazing, and just to have the opportunity to go at it with him one on one was a dream. He was so good in that role, man. He
Right.
was good, and how, speaking of number ones taking the reins and pulling the rest of the cast and crew behind them, he did that to the nth degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's a scene there where he breaks down, and he did it like 3 or 4 times with Lenny, and I was on the floor at this point,
Mm.
dead, um, just as a piece of meat. But I could feel it. Yeah, I could
Mm.
feel his performance. Wasn't even watching, but I could feel it. Just kind of, it was shaking my heart, and
Right.
he's so good, take after take with different. The director was molding little pieces of performance, which I was so surprised they went with the take that they did with Andy on that, because I guess they wanted to show him stronger. He was very, very vulnerable in the takes, and they chose one where he was a little bit more resilient. And they're painting the picture of the entire season and the entire
Yeah.
show with him in mind. So there's reason why they choose that. I know, but man, he's so good, so good.
Right. And
What
sorry, go on. What was that?
I said, it was a real treat to be on the show.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah, because kind of like what you were saying, I'm sure it would have meant a lot more to you to get on there by your own merits rather than just having someone who could get you on there kind of
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, I
Hey,
can.
I'm all about people opening the door, but I or knocking on the door for me maybe, but I'm the one that I want them to see when I walk through that door. I'm the one that
Right.
that needs to earn my way into the room. Those are the little lucky breaks that you can get along the way. You're just keeping yourself open. I've had producers, when I worked on Stephen King's Cell.
Mm.
I worked in a restaurant in town, and I've been at it for a few years. But I think it was a Christmas day, and this guy that was a regular at the restaurant, he came in pretty regularly. He said, "Hey, my sister's in town. They're working on a Stephen King thriller called Cell, and um, you, I'd love to introduce you guys." I said, "Man," I said, "that'd be great if you could get me an audition for it. It'd be amazing."
Mm.
So he got me an audition, and I went to an audition. I had a call back with the director, and they booked me from it. So, you know, don't. I'm not saying I'm not so well off that I'm thinking that people can't help you out like that, but at the same time, you have to earn it.
Yeah.
You know that's the most important part is getting that. I don't want to work on a job that's been handed to me.
Yeah.
It takes years of building relationships to and people seeing you work before that ever happens.
Right. And another show that you were on was Doom Patrol, and I was wondering because really the only similarity it has to Stargirl is that they're both based on comics. So I was wondering, like,
Yeah,
uh, kind of like if you could compare your experiences on the two shows because they have that similar origin to each other.
they do. We wrapped Stargirl, and I auditioned for Doom. You know what? I didn't even audition for that. It was the casting director who put me on Stargirl, and Chase and Tara, Feldstein Paris casting here in Atlanta. They've been man. They've done so much for my career. I've booked so many things with them. They know my work.
Yeah.
Um, so I got a request from my agent to um, send them a reel. So I sent them a reel, and then I booked the show off of that. And you know, I- they it's weird because they were I wrapped on Stargirl and then went straight over to Doom Patrol. I think I even knew that I was going to be on Doom Patrol when I was working the last episode of Stargirl. So,
Right.
you know, I kind of view them in my journey almost as the same piece of puzzle. You
Mm.
know, um, Jeff Johns, I think he's one of the executive producers on Doom Patrol.
Oh, right.
I'm pretty sure, and the director that did the pilot episode of Doom Patrol, Chris Manley, was a director on Stargirl, and he was a DP on the first episode of Stargirl, the pilot. So
Right.
I didn't know that until I'd already booked it, and I went to him. I was like, "Oh man," he said, "Mark." I said, "Hey man," and we met. We talked a little bit and a little bit about the role that I was going to be playing, and that show was almost like you in contrast between the two. I would say, there's a ah, there's like the yin and yang effect there with the two of them because I
Right.
do them as the same. I think Stargirl is a little lighter
Yeah.
and a little bit probably. I mean, as many um, dark elements as there are in there with the
Yeah.
ISA and the death that is there. It's a little bit more adolescent. I think
Yeah.
I think Doom Patrol is like its wicked big brother.
Mm.
He's wicked. It's a wicked show. It's crazy, isn't it?
Mm.
And it's so
Absolutely. Yeah.
zany, and there's nothing like it, I don't think, on television at all. I don't think there is.
Mm.
And everybody feels that way. I would be in the makeup chair. Maybe it was my character too that was just a lot darker, but the Doom Patrol shoot just felt a lot darker for me. Um, I was in the makeup chair. I went into the makeup chair like 4 times, and they were doing my hair and makeup, and it just they made me into a kind of a twisted character, and I kind of I view it as like a twisted show in probably because of where my character had to go. That's the way I looked at it after finishing
Yeah.
Chicago, and the wholesome Justin that I was in that, going to a ringmaster in a
Mm.
weird um, turn of the century sideshow London circus. It was bizarre.
Right.
It was bizarre. And, everybody has a certain sense of pride, and they know that they're doing something that nobody else is doing, and it's cutting edge stuff. It's weird. Everybody knows that it's like it literally is like a sideshow circus.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Now,
yeah, you just mentioned Justin at the end of that answer, and assuming because there's still a couple episodes left, assuming he survives season one, where are your hopes for where he goes going forward?
I hope that they somehow manage to incorporate the seven soldiers
Right.
of victory, and that you get to see a lot, or even just an element of Justin's backstory, and it could go way back too. There's so much that could be picked out of Justin's story that
Yeah.
would be compelling to watch. I'd love to see the encounter with Merlin. You know, I'd love to see the ogre. I'd love
Mm.
to see, um, the blessing of victory. I'd love to see, even fighting alongside Genghis Khan,
Mm.
Winston Churchill's bodyguard. There's just so much that can be done, and there's so many different places and times that Justin can live in, that
Right.
it makes his story just, I don't know, it colors it so rich. I think the sky's the limit with the character, and if I've no reason to believe that Jeff won't bring out pieces of that I've just said, because everything else that he said has come to fruition. I,
Right.
I know that he's looking in at the big picture. Right now there's a lot of groundwork being laid, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to just find out what works here with the first season and just kind of try and interweave it all to tell the bigger picture. But
Right.
that's my hope.
Yeah.
I'm not going
And
to tell you my
sorry.
other hope because you don't know that yet. You don't know that. You don't know things yet. There's a couple more episodes in the season that I should probably kind of keep to myself as to
Yeah.
what happens.
Because I'm being very conscious to try to not trip you up anything or not anything like that. Like I'm not trying to be
No,
that
you can't.
kind of
You're
hello.
doing just having to. You have to keep my cards a little bit close. Just
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah. So this is the last question I've actually got here, but obviously it goes without saying we're in precarious times right now, and so what kind of sentiment would you want to share with fans of Stargirl or any other projects you might be recognized from?
It's a great question, Connor. Um, these are unprecedented days, as you said.
Mm,
You know, I I try and live my life every day finding positives. I think it's important to always have something to look forward to, no
right.
matter how big or small it is. And I think that if you can kind of try and find what fills you up and try and follow your heart with that, then you'll be able to see the good through the dark.
Mm,
You know, try and make some goals that you can accomplish. Again, it doesn't matter how small, if it's a breath once an hour, one deep breath.
mm,
Obviously, in in quarantine right now, but if
mm,
you can take one deep breath every hour just to center yourself and ground yourself, then do it. Make as many goals as you can that you can accomplish, and it will give you fulfillment. And it's all part of where you want to go, and try and focus on that with while making your goals. What do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Just do little things that you can knock off a list and give you fulfillment, because it's important to find self-fulfillment. It really is. I've been struggling with the lack of being able to just go out and be social.
right.
We're social
Yeah.
beings, aren't we? And so it's hard to be quarantined right now, but it's all this will pass
Mm,
soon. It will, as long as people are safe. And I my thing is I act like I have it, and I act like everybody else has it, and I live my life that way. If I'm ever out in public, I'll wear my mask, and I don't really care. If anybody else is offended by that, I'm because I've been working at a friend's restaurant running food, which has kept
right.
my mind busy through all this.
Mm,
And I I wear a mask at work, obviously, the
mm,
whole time. Um, but I'm wearing a mask in public to protect other people. And so, you know, I find that living with empathy and understanding and listening is important. But you know, just use caution. That was
um,
long-winded, mate. Connor.
yeah. No, I
Sorry,
mean,
I could have
no,
gone
it's
anywhere with that question. There's so much right now.
yeah.
All the in America especially. I know the Black Lives Matter movement is really this is the biggest civil rights movement since the civil rights
Mm,
movement. It's crazy over here right now, and rightfully so. It's crazy. You know, there's a lot of things that are ingrained in society that we as white people have been able to just take for granted and not think about. But now is a good time to listen. to those that feel aggrieved and hard done by. And now's a good time to acknowledge them and just listen with a compassionate heart, and understand. Just try our best to understand.